need to sell their property. There are those of us that would buy that property without changing the zoning on it. We have an affordable housing linkage fee that the city of Winter Park is no longer collecting, but certainly that affordable housing linkage fee could be used to procure lots on the west side when people feel they must be sold. And in that way, we could actually keep them from going, out onto a bigger market that has other ideas. But I think the zoning is critical. I think that's the thing that Tom and I see eye to eye on all the time. But then I think the variances we can be more guarded about also. Thank you.
Okay, here's a budget question. What are the budget plans so we can pay $500,000 a year to Sunrail in 5 years? What will we have to give up?
Well, first of all, fortunately, we negotiated a contract that said if there's not a permanent funding source for Sunrail, the city of Winter Park can say, thank you very much, we no longer want to participate. So we, of all the cities that are signed up with Sunrail, have that option if it comes to the point and there isn't a permanent funding source. We can say, thank you, we don't care to have the train stop here. Hopefully that doesn't happen. As I talked about earlier with the regional transportation issues, this region has to have a permanent funding source for alternate means of transportation, whether it's Sunrail, whether it's Lynx, whatever it might be. And without that, we're going to be in a world of hurt. What do we have to give up? Well, where do we start? We usually start with the things that are amenities and not health, safety, welfare issues. It's the parks. It's the things we all take for granted. It wouldn't be police or fire because we need to maintain those, but it would be the amenities in the city that we enjoy would probably be the first thing we have to give up. And I'm hoping in the few years we have to figure this out that we're going to be able to do that, not only as a city, but as a region ourselves.
Two important things about Sunrail, and I still have blood-stained clothing to show for this, but I'm very proud that we actually reopened the contract and negotiated a cap on Winter Park's exposure to Sunrail operations and maintenance. Your exposure now is something under $400,000. I can't remember the exact number, someplace between $350, $375. We capped it. Now that doesn't include liability. That's an open question still. But we do have a cap on your Sunrail exposure. We also instituted the discipline that said that Winter Park would start putting aside funds every year, like a few years ago. So every year we're increasing the amount that we set aside in our budget, and we hold it all year long as if we were having to pay for Sunrail. So by the time we get to Sunrail, if we continue to instill that discipline, which I hope we will know how to manage our budget around the Sunrail contribution.
Okay, this is for both of you. In lieu of the fact that your opponents are not present, what are the basic differences in your philosophy between you and them? In short, why should we vote for you?
She's not in the chair. Number one is she chose not to be here tonight. That's the number one difference in my opponent and I have never backed down from any uncomfortable situation. And I have to tell you, when you're a commissioner, there are uncomfortable situations. If you think putting a cap on Sunrail O&M was embraced by this community, please. If you think voting no when David Weekley wants to come in and build a bunch of houses on R1A lots, no. This job really isn't for the faint of heart. This job truly requires you to be willing to sometimes not feel real comfortable in every situation. And I would say that seems to be one difference in my opponent and I. I will be at the chamber debate on Friday. The last time I went to a debate at the Chamber of Commerce, they demanded that I answer yes, no questions. That's right. All I could say was yes or no. I've been invited there to hear how I thought about things and how I felt. But I will be there on Friday. It's a big difference.
You know, I said this the other night, and they say it takes a lot of courage to stand up to your adversaries, but it takes even more courage to stand up to your friends. And over the last 6 years, I've had to do a little bit of both. And I see a lot of friends out in this audience. It isn't easy. This is an easy audience tonight. When you stand out here with this many people and it's an unfriendly audience, it's a whole nother story. And I think that's the biggest difference, is that I've always been willing to listen to both sides, to evaluate each project, each issue as it came before me. I tell people on Sunday afternoon, I turn off the TV, I turn off the computer, and I sit down and I say, all right, here's all the information in front of me. What is the best decision for the citizens of Winter Park? I don't do blogs. I don't accept contributions from outside organizations. I am a citizen of Winter Park, and I believe that I act in the best interest of all the citizens of Winter Park. And I think that distinction is very, very, very clear.
Thank you. I really appreciate the fact that you're here, that you've answered the questions. We will now have our closing statements. And Carolyn, you go first, and we'll answer the phone.
Well, I actually did have an opportunity up front to tell you about why I'm the most qualified. I do spend a lot of time for the city of Winter Park. I have learned that it takes a lot of commitment. It takes a lot of personal learning, preparing to make the best decisions that you can. It takes compassion to understand what our community is going through. And there are a lot of places where we really need to reach out and fix things that aren't necessarily on Park Avenue. I do have a master's in systems management from the University of Southern California. I have served on the planning and zoning, as well as the comprehensive plan task force, which will be very important next year. Prior, in my early life, prior to coming to Winter Park, I was the director of contracts for Lockheed Martin. And in that job, I learned to smell fish. I learned to identify and mitigate risk on the front end, in the contract documents, in the comprehensive plan, in our land use codes. Because when you come to me and the concrete is coming out of the ground, those entitlements have been in place for years. So when I try to get you to come and learn about the comp plan or come and talk about the comp plan, take a pass on your bridge game, because that's when you're going to make a big difference. It's not at the end. I mean, I want you to come at the end. This town has come together and bought a bad deal out before, but wouldn't it have been better had we been able to do it on the front end? And I will say to you that I know how to do that. I really know how to do that. I care about this city. I have no investments other than my private home. My family was raised here. They've all graduated from Winter Park High School. 3 of the 5 have graduated from Winter Park High School. And I'm in it for you. I really am in it because this community is worth it.
Thank you. Todd?
You know, this is a special place. And in spite of all the things we may have been through in the last 6 years, it's still an incredible place to come to and call home. You know, I think it's my experience as a landscape architect. I work on a daily basis with architects and engineers, bankers, developers, homeowners, transportation planners. And there's always that sense of teamwork, that a group of people together can make better decisions most likely, than one person individually. And I bring that same teamwork mentality to the commission. You know, it's the willingness, I said before, it's the willingness in a team, you listen to all the sides, you listen to both sides. And I think I've developed that trust amongst the citizens of Winter Park, that I get invited to both sides of the table. Not every commissioner can say that. When there's issues, I get called by both sides because they know I'll sit and listen to them and go back and make an objective decision. And I think that trust is probably that's the best attribute that any person or any commissioner can have. And I'll put my plug in here. I want you to keep that trust working for you, and as the sign says, keep Tom on March 15th.